On today's show, we're talking about a recent move the New York Knicks made that may or may not impact the Boston Celtics. So I thought what better way than to kick this off with a subscriber battle we've had the entire month of September. And look, because the Knicks just made a blockbuster move, their subs went up. So now we've got to catch up, and we've got about a day to do so. Go on ahead, hit that sub button for me if you want to take down the New York Knicks. I'm sure you guys know, but Karl-Anthony Towns was traded to the New York Knicks over the weekend. Shocked, I know. I had no idea. It was one of those Shams bombs, I guess, is maybe what we're saying now since Woj retired. It was one of those tweets that I saw the front half of it where I was like, Karl-Anthony Towns got traded, and I opened it, and I'm like, oh shit, to the New York Knicks? This makes him a better ball club. That is without a doubt. But what does it mean for the Boston Celtics? Because respectfully, we can't care that much about what other teams are doing. We need to look at how what other teams' moves affect the Celtics. So just to really break it down here in case you guys didn't get that Shams bomb, if I might be starting that. I'm going to patent pen that. So the New York Knicks did receive Cat from the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is a very high contender in this upcoming season. So this is why that trade really baffled me, is that I did not think another contender like the Timberwolves were going to send another contender like the Knicks, one of their top players in Cat. And in return, they got one of the Nova Knicks. So they're not keeping that group together through and through as Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle end up in Minnesota. Julius Randle, not much of a surprise. You could kind of see that trade was lingering. I just didn't expect it to be the three-point threat that is Cat. So how does this make the New York Knicks a better team, you might be asking? Well, now you're going to have Mitchell Robinson, who's kind of been fluctuating with injury off and on the last year. I mean, the Boston Celtics really didn't get to meet Mitchell Robinson that much in the regular season because of injuries. So now you've got Cat at your 5, which does make him a lot more lethal as a top scorer. He is dominant from a three-point line. If you guys have ever watched the NBA All-Star, you know that he's always in and winning the three-point contest. And then you're going to put Josh Hart in this starting lineup. And then, of course, you did add Bridges and Jalen Brunson to the backcourt this offseason. Brunson obviously played last year, but Bridges makes him a lot more of a threat on offense. But we do also know that the Knicks were already kind of contending after the Mikal Bridges trade did happen. And then you add in Cat, right? So what kind of threat does this pose, maybe not just the Boston Celtics, but to the league in general? I mean, this is Karl-Anthony Towns we're talking about here. Well, the Boston Celtics are still favorited by sportsbooks to win the NBA Finals in 2025 at plus 310. Then the OKC Thunder, obviously adding Isaiah Hartenstein, adding Alex Caruso. They've made some moves to try and keep up with Boston. But now the Knicks are the third favorites to win the NBA Finals. How long do you think it's been since the Knicks have been in the top 5 to be NBA Finals odds? And then, of course, you got the 76ers who added Paul George, and then you got Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets there at 5 with plus 950. The whole purpose of this here, the whole reason why I'm making this video is just to let you guys know everybody in the NBA is trying to make moves just to keep up with Boston. That is reason number 1 that I do not think Boston Celtics fans should be going frantic over a Cat trade. Yes, it makes the Knicks better, but you have to think about this. They're only trying to get better to beat Boston, who is still on top. And thank God we have a basketball psycho as our head coach in Joe Mazzulla. And when he was asked, what do you think about Cat, man? What do you think about the New York Knicks now? God bless Joe Mazzulla. I mean, all teams have tried to make roster moves to get better. Karl-Anthony Towns is a great player. They're a great team. So we got to focus on us, and we got to get better every day. You know Mazzulla wasn't going to change his mindset just because they got a new player. And when I am genuinely putting down the starting 5 here for both teams, and this is just a probable starting 5 for the New York Knicks, I would take our roster any day of the week. Here is how they match up, right? You've got Jalen Brunson and Derek White and Drew Holiday, 2 all-defensive guards. Now, going to have to spread out their defense a little bit more because you added somebody like Bridges, so now you've got another scoring threat opposite of Jalen Brunson. OG OG Anunoby, well, he's going to have to meet the Jays of Brown and Tatum. I could see them switching multiple times. And Josh Hart. Josh Hart is one of those rare players in the NBA, and especially in a Tom Thibodeau type of offense, and that he plays about 40 minutes a game. So the key here is to really wear him out. But then you're going to take on Al Horford / Kristaps Porzingis and match him up with Karl-Anthony Towns. And I do believe that once Kristaps Porzingis can come back into the starting lineup, and you're allowing that defense to be a little bit more spread out, if you now take Kristaps Porzingis, who is kind of similar to Cat in terms of what he can offer in the paint and outside of the paint, he's a lethal three-point shooter, and we know he can score at all three positions. He's a three-level scorer, I should say. So now when Kristaps Porzingis comes back, I think that matchup is going to be better. Obviously, size is not there. Horford's size matches up a little bit better with Karl-Anthony Towns down low in the paint, but Cat is 7'2". Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3". So this Cat actually, I believe is about 7 feet, not 7'2". I believe Cat's about 7 feet, and then KP is going to be 7'3". So it does match up a little bit better, but it's going to be a test that Joe Mazzulla, I believe, is ready for. So here's my question to you guys. Are you worried about Cat on the Knicks? I'll give you guys my opinion in just a moment, but you will be hit with a YouTube ad break here, and I want you guys to go on ahead and take your time. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know what you guys think about Cat being on the Knicks and how scared you are. I'm not scared. I'm really not. Genuinely, I think this just makes the competition a little bit better. The Boston Celtics beat the Knicks 4 out of 5 times last year. I mean, we need something a little bit better here, especially because Boston opens up their season going up against the Knicks. It's going to be a good challenge for Boston, who's going to have already a challenge without Porzingis in the first 2 months. But I'll talk about it a little bit more in just a moment. I want to tell you guys real quick who the champions are. Still reigning in the NBA, and you still get to rep their gear this year in TD Garden, hopefully at next year's parade. So if you guys are looking for your championship gear and you just haven't gotten it yet because you're like, hey, man, I got plenty of time before the NBA season starts, wrong. It is almost October, which means NBA season is right around the corner. If you guys want to get your championship gear, well, they have it 65% off right now. All you guys have to do is use this beautiful link that I created here for you guys to get this deal. chatsports.com/CelticsChamps24. That's going to get you this really crisp black t-shirt. You can wear this anywhere in Boston. So go on ahead, get your championship gear on a huge discount by using the link chatsports.com/CelticsChamp24. All right, let's talk about why I do not think that Cat being on the Knicks is anything to lose your head about in Boston. They still have the best starting 5 in the NBA, in my opinion. And you've got lethal role players in Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. Cat is a threat on both sides of the basketball. Yes, we know that. But they've also dealt with Cat for several years in the NBA, playing him in the Minnesota Timberwolves. In the last 4 seasons, Cat has obviously been a top position for the Timberwolves, who are now recently starting to surge. You got Anthony Edwards, you got Rudy Gobert. Obviously, Cat does make a difference when you're looking at what he's done for Minnesota over the last 4 years and playing 62 games, shooting 50% from the field, but also shooting 41% from downtown is unheard of for a player his size and in his position, averaging 20 points per game for the last 4 seasons. I would not be surprised if Cat was one of the top scorers on the New York Knicks, which is crazy because he is a center. So it's going to be an adjustment for the Boston Celtics, just like it was for the NBA, to adjust to Kristaps Porzingis being on the Celtics roster. But, I mean, quite frankly, it was kind of 50-50 when Cat took on Boston in Minnesota last year. Obviously, we're going to play Cat a lot more now being on the Knicks. You'll play him 4 times in the regular season and sometimes in the playoffs if they do end up matching up. But last year when they played the Timberwolves, in Game 1, it wasn't it, all right? 3 for 10, 1 for 7 from downtown, 7 points and 10 boards. Obviously had a really off night with 7 turnovers, but he cleaned it up in 2024. 8 for 17, 25 points. There is a double-double that we know Cat can have. But it looks like Boston, Game 1 was with Porzingis, all right? Game 2 was not with Porzingis. Keep that in mind. So you might be wondering, are the Celtics shivering in their boots? Wrong. They played duck, duck, goose at practice the other day with their kids. Little Deuce was running around. That is how the Boston Celtics are responding to catch trade. They were doing relay races. They were doing fast walks, and it looked like somebody's auntie in the grocery store. They were playing duck, duck, goose. They were playing wiffle ball. That is how they responded to a trade to the New York Knicks. If that doesn't send a message to the NBA, then I don't know what does. Joe Mazzulla doesn't give a shit about any trades in the NBA. All he's focused on is his ball club, and I love that about him. But when you do end up looking at what this does mean for the Boston Celtics, it does get a little bit dicey moving forward because Boston now has a lot of pressure on them to win. Not just the NBA Finals, but also against the New York Knicks. They were 13 games ahead of number 2 last year in the NBA Eastern Conference, and Brad Stevens is going to look for them to do that. Why? Because they are well over the luxury tax line, which means if they do not win this year, they may need to shed some salary, aka trade some players, or else they may not be able to compete with all the changes that are happening in the NBA. But so far, I think Cat does make the Knicks better, but I don't think it's anything to sound the alarm about just yet. So I have a question here for you guys. Who do you think has more pressure on them? Is it the New York Knicks, who are trading away a part of the Nova Knicks to get somebody like Karl-Anthony Towns or maybe even Bridges to the team? The Knicks are making a lot of adjustments. Is it on them, or is it on the reigning NBA champs? Type B for Boston, type N for New York. And as always, help us win this sub battle going up against Marshall Green and the Knicks Now channel here at Chat Sports. All you guys have to do to help us win is subscribe.